In this video, I am putting an extra hole in a belt that is going to go on the Wheeler and Wilson sewing machine, which is a treadle. My father had made this replacement belt out of someone's waist belt because the original belt had broken. So I have a piece of wood and a nail, and I am just banging the nail through the leather. My father had 2 holes here and 2 holes on the other end. The manual calls for, I think, 5 holes across the edge of the original belt and lacing it in place. Instead of cutting the whole end off and trying to put 5 holes in, I'm going to do it with 3 and see if that secures the belt well enough. I had it secured on there with just the 2 holes, but even though I pulled it tightly, the edges had a little bit of play in them back and forth. So I'm going to put the 3rd hole in. I've already cut a little bit off the belt to make it a little bit smaller and tighter. And once I put this 3rd hole in and put a 3rd hole in the other end, I'm going to put it on back on the machine and then lace the belt together. Now you can see I've got the nail through the leather. And I just wanted to say that sometimes you now have to use pliers to pull this out because it is pretty tight in there. And the other thing is, when I trimmed the belt, I actually used these. I started using a craft knife to cut some leather off the end. These are bonsai trimmers, and I'm a horticulturist, so I had these. And these are actually a wonderful tool to quickly cut leather if you need to. They're bonsai trimmers, and they're made to trim tree branches. So they work very well if you have those. So there's the nail through the belt. Now I'll pull that out and do the other end. I think you can see that center hole in the end of the belt, the nail that I used makes a very good hole for lacing. My father had made this belt a while ago, I think, and then put it away in the drawer. So, the leather may have pulled back together on the holes he made. But this will give me, I'm going to now redo the holes here, make them all that wide, so that when I lace the belt together, once it's placed through the machine, I'll have nice big holes to put the lacing through. Miller on Treadle On had said that he used dental tape, and I have heard that before. I had looked for my carpet thread, and I haven't found it yet, but if I find my heavy-duty carpet thread, I may use that, because it is strong. It's probably not going to break, and I don't have any dental tape. Okay, there are the 2 ends together. And you can see the 6 holes, and I've trimmed one end so that it's the same width as the other one. And I believe that when Miller was posting about the belts that he has made as replacements, I believe he said the flat side, the smoother side, should be against the treadle wheel, because I guess it will grip it better. I had it the other way. When I first had this on there, I had it the other way, with the rougher side against the wheel. And I was getting slippage, but the belt was a little bit too long. So now that I've trimmed it, I'm going to put it on with this side toward the drum and see if it does better. I've brought a work light over here to shine light on this machine because I don't have a good overhead light. And these are the 2 areas where you have to deal with the belt. On the lower side here, the belt will go around this, and you can see it's a person's belt that I'm using. But what normally on a treadle, where you could thread it through and fix the staples, you can't lace this until you get it through the upper part of the machine, which is right there. And this is what Miller had been explaining to me. So I want the smoother side on the wheel. So I'm going to just toss the whole thing in the back. And under here, this is where this is going to go up. Right there. I'm going to pull that up to the top. You can see it poking up there. And I'm going to feed it over the top of that drum you see there. That may be a pulley. It looks like a drum to me. So it's going to come through the top of the drum, in front of the drum, and then go down. And at that point, while it's off the lower wheel, I'll lace it together. And hopefully it'll be a little difficult to slip it on the wheel, because that'll mean it's tight enough. So if I can let that end go, I need 2 hands to do this. So let me get it threaded through the top. Now I've got the belt right on the top of the drum. And you can see the drum move a little bit. And Miller had said the clearance is 1/8 of an inch to go through there. So what I have to do, and I'll be putting the camera down again, I have to just use one hand to push it through from behind, make sure it doesn't bunch up. And I was able to do this yesterday. Just pull it through there, and once you get it through there, it'll go down the hole in front of it very easily. And this came through there much more easily this time than it did yesterday when I did it, and it didn't fall back when I just let go of the back. I know my hand is in the way, but I'm just going to grab that end and see how that comes right through, and then put it down the front hole, which is right here, and pull it through. So now what I'll do is, like I said, take these 2 ends, lace them together, and then slip it on the drum right there. Now you can see that looks like a big gap. It looks like it's about 1 inch gap, and what this tells me, I don't think it'll be quite that bad when I lace it, but this tells me that whatever I lace it with has to be strong enough to hold the pieces closer together than that, and not the tension that is on them from the belt being on the wheel. It has to be strong enough to withstand that tension. I may have leather lacing, I may have synthetic leather lacing, and I may use that instead of carpet thread. This is what I'm going to try first. This is a synthetic leather lacing, and that's a tapestry needle. And I think the holes that are in the belt are about the same size as the needle, so it should be able to pull this through it, because being synthetic, this compresses fairly easily. So I think this will work, and that's what I'm going to try. I didn't like the way the synthetic leather lacing was working, so look what I found. Ribbon. And the ribbon, I think, will actually be stronger, and it's a good real ribbon, and not those synthetic ribbons that unravel very easily. And you can see that I can lace this together. Also, I can leave, see how I can pull that down? So if the tension ends up being, that's where it needs to be, then that should go through the machine without a problem. If it needs to be tighter, it's easy to pull the lacing tighter. So I think this will work. I've placed the belt on there without tightening up any of the lacing, and you can see I still have a big gap here. I have 3 holes in each end, and Miller had said that there should be 5 in each end, and when there are 5, there's a pattern as to how to lace it. But I have 3, so I am just going to lace it crosswise. Because when you finish the lacing, you need to tuck the ends in. What I'm going to do, that is what the belt wants to do right now. So what I'm going to do is make sure that when I tie it tight, it's going to be smaller than this. And the ribbon and the belt will stretch to fit the drum, hopefully, without any extra room at all. You can see that the gap here is much less. I've tied the ribbon in a very small knot in the back, and you can see on the back of the wheel here it's going to take some effort to get the belt on the wheel. And because I may need to adjust this again, I'm just going to take the ends, put them through the needle, and weave the ends into the lacing to make it as flat as possible to go through the machine. But this looks like it'll work. And the end result is the ribbon is too thick to go through the machine. So I'll leave it like this until I get some dental tape, and then I will do the same thing with dental tape, which should be much thinner, smaller, and should go through the machine much easily. The wheel goes around, the belt works tight enough, but it gets under the needle plate and it stops because the ribbon lacing is too thick.